Walter Hamada, how's it going? Excuse this sore throat. What the frick is going on with the Batman? Ooh. Walter, there is no need to swear. And by the way, release the damn Snyder Cut. Stop being so stubborn. Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here. And you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down. What the frick is going on with the Batman? I hope you enjoyed my update video on the Batman yesterday, but there is now a divide within the fandom about this film, with so many rumours now that the film is in trouble, that Matt Reeves is leaving. What's the truth? Well, have you heard of Christopher Mark? Now, Christopher Mark, who is Christopher Mark? News and features writer at HN Entertainment. That's who he is, right? And he's written a thread. So this is a controversial thread if you're a Snyder fan, but let me read it to you. Just so we're clear, the same arseholes creating fake fan petitions about Pattinson are also spreading fake info that the Batman is in trouble, all because they're butthurt about Affleck and Snyder leaving the DCU. This is fandom at its worst. Same idiots were attacking Aquaman and Shazam before their releases as well. There is a segment that is still furious the studio is moving along without Snyder, and they genuinely think they can talk people out of supporting these movies with fabricated information and petitions. So, what do you think about that? In the comments, I want you all to know, especially fans of the Snyderverse. What do I think? I think there is an element of the fandom who think if Walter Hamada's current kind of direction of the DCEU fails, then Warner Brothers will knock on Zack Snyder's door and say, please continue what you were doing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Basically, this is where we're going now. This is where we are now. So I did say yesterday that part of me thought that maybe Matt Reeves would walk after Walter Hamada came in, just because Walter Hamada didn't choose him. But there's been a lot of people in my ear since I did my video yesterday. A big reaction on Twitter where I'm at Movies TV Mad. If you want to follow me, there is now a lot of people saying that there are an element of Zack Snyder fans trying to make up stories. Now, I don't know. There wasn't another rumour I didn't talk about. The other rumour is that Warner Brothers want Ben Affleck to write and direct the Batman, where he'll cameo as an older Batman, where they'll still cast a younger Batman too. I don't believe this. I just don't believe this after a few people spoke to me about that video yesterday. I don't believe this is happening. From the very beginning, we knew Matt Reeves is a perfectionist. Matt Reeves is a very talented storyteller, and we knew he was going to take his time. Now, some people just are taking advantage of that situation. I still think that the news about Pattinson shouldn't have come out because it's not confirmed. He hasn't signed anything. And, so it's a very problematic situation, but I do feel there are elements of our fandom, let's say, who are trying to stir the pot and take advantage of kind of not very much news on the Batman. And also, I've noticed, I saw a video on Collider where they were saying because I broke this as well, didn't I? That I said that all the major kind of rogues gallery would appear in the Batman. And they're saying, oh no, this is going to be like Batman Returns. First of all, Batman Returns is one of my favourite Batman movies. I love the Penguin in it and Catwoman. For me, it worked. And Max Schreck. I thought they were brilliant. I enjoyed that film. I enjoyed that film a lot more than Burton's first Batman movie, by the way. So that is not an issue. Matt Reeves is clever enough to do something special. Of course, this film could actually be set in Arkham Asylum. And maybe that's why this rogues gallery is actually going to be in this film. So that will be interesting. Could it be based on the game? Could it? I don't know. Listen, if I don't know what the film's going to be about, but I do know, and I do hear a lot of things about all the rogues being in it, which would absolutely excite me. Of course, the sooner we get announcements, confirmations of castings, and a proper start date as well, rather than these sites rumouring things all the time, the better we will be. Now that I've heard from a lot of people that know their stuff, I believe that Matt Reeves isn't going anywhere. I don't think the film is actually in trouble, but there is a certain segment taking advantage of the fact that this is taking so long. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. I believe by the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year, filming will begin. Matt Reeves has taken a long time, but I think it's going to be worth it. So, very interesting, because there is a divide in the fandom now. There's a lot of chat like this, but even now, when you look at what John Aaron Garza wrote about the Snyder Cut last week, I think even our own fandom, because I class myself as a Snyder fan, as a fan of Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. But ultimately, I'm a DC fan. I want to see more movies, no matter who's doing them. And that's my thought process on that. So all I can say to you right now, that Matt Reeves is busy at work, this film is going ahead, and there are no issues apart from him taking so long. I'm happy for him to do so. If he's going to give us something special, we could potentially get the kind of Batman film we've been begging for years, the kind of, a great take. Now, let's just say these Ben Affleck rumours are true. Well, Ben Affleck's take was Deathstroke, Batman versus Deathstroke. We saw that video of Deathstroke doing his stuff, and it was awesome. I would have loved that movie. But guess who didn't love that movie? Warner Brothers. So, and this is the thing, and people talk about studio interference, but ultimately, it's their money, and they've got to decide, especially when the mainstream audience weren't happy with what they were doing. They were in a very precarious place, and they had to make these decisions. They could have allowed Ben Affleck to make that film, but instead, they sat down and thought about things carefully. But unfortunately, fandoms are not balanced. They're passionate people, and they react. Everything's reactive these days, whether you're a sports fan, a movie fan, a TV fan, and I think that's the problem. And we all react on rumours rather than fact. So now, let's move on to Superman. Still no knowledge. And by the way, if Affleck did come back, then I would be more confident about Ezra Miller's script being rubber stamped by Warner Brothers as well. But at this moment in time, I don't believe Ben Affleck's coming back, but of course I will keep you up to date. So Superman, I'm going to make an appeal to Warner Brothers, and this is not about Henry Cavill or Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. I'm talking as a Superman fan. Warner Brothers, if you make a Superman film that appeals to die-hard fans and the mainstream audience, this DC world of movies, the DCEU, will become massive, bigger than the MCU. Superman is so important. He's very important. And we as Superman fans are desperate for a movie we can all enjoy, because Superman, as much as I love Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Superman should be a film for the many and not for the few. Now, everybody knows my script idea. It's there. A story about Superman being around on Earth for just over 1,000 years, the upcoming celebrations of those 1,000 years in my story, and we get flashbacks. We see him in his Action Comics suit because he's been around for so long. Two villains that I would be bringing onto the film would be Metallo and Manchester Black. The element of John Corbin, who is one version of Metallo, being best friends with Clark Kent, and obviously that being really compelling when he does become Metallo. Then Manchester Black and the Elite turn up, and they start manipulating people into wanting Metallo dead, which of course puts Superman in such a difficult position. Then we flash back to the Second World War, where the world was pressuring Superman to kill Hitler, and he refused to do it. My story is a commentary on Superman's no-kill policy. Now, although I wasn't butthurt over Superman killing Zod, I believe a Superman that doesn't kill is a great Superman. Simple as that. That's my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours. Comment down below. We can agree to disagree, can't we? So this is the kind of direction my story is headed, right? So ultimately in this film, there will be action, there'll be emotional commentary, but also in my story, we amp up Superman's personality just slightly, because we want him to appeal to the mainstream as well. Superman, as he is right now, I don't think works for a mainstream audience. So we must bring him up. And in my story, he just begins his job at the Daily Planet. He's never worked in his history at the Daily Planet before. He's travelled from town to town. He's travelled across the world. He's just returned from outer space where he's been exploring planets and everything. So he's just come back and he decides he needs to settle down. He doesn't want to travel around anymore. So what happens is he meets Jimmy Olsen. In my story is an adopted son. He was going to be Clark's adopted son, actually, but I changed it. He's actually Lex's adopted son, and he's actually my version of Connor Kent. So he's actually a clone. And of course, because he's adopted by Lex, this is a great kind of element of the relationship between Jimmy and Clark. Lois Lane is Lois Lane. I want to get her right. I want her to be passionate. I want her to care about the world. I want her to be a great journalist. I want her to have trouble spelling. I don't think a strong woman should be an arrogant woman, though. And I think there's a balancing act with Lois, because if you go too over the top with her, people actually end up hating her. So she's a balancing act. I've got great plans for Jimmy Olsen as well. So at the end of my first movie, the whole point is we have the celebration after, the situation is sorted out. So we have the celebration of Superman's 1,000 years on Earth. So it's a bit like A New Hope when they give Luke and Han and Chewie the award and everything. So it's a nice, placid, happy ending. But then we go to our Empire Strikes Back movie. So in the post-credit scene for my first Superman movie, we're in space and we see Brainiac's skull ship coming towards us. So in the second film, it's Brainiac. And at the end of the second film, he banishes Superman to the Phantom Zone. Big cliffhanger ending. This is what I would do. Where's my background? How dare you? So, you know me and my background. So that's what I would do. So obviously, in the third movie, we would begin with Superman in the Phantom Zone. And I would be I'm not sure what I would do with the third movie, but certainly that's the kind of thing I'd want to do with my Superman trilogy. Superman is very important, Warner Brothers. And please share this video to Warner Brothers. Please, whoever sees this, this is important. You get Superman right. If you finally get it right for everyone, then this franchise is really going to kick off. I'd love to be a consultant on the movie. I'd love Patty Jenkins to direct it. I'd love maybe someone like Jeff Johns or somebody else who knows Superman to kind of adapt my ideas. I think this could work. Please comment down below on everything I've spoken about. Matt Reeves, the Batman, the division between fans now as well, between Zack Snyder fans, ordinary DC fans. And what do you think of my Superman idea? And please spread the word to Warner Brothers, because I'm so desperate for a Superman movie right now, and I don't think anything's happening right now, and we need to push the narrative for that to happen.